This is Hacking the Afterlife podcast with Jennifer Schaefer. Jennifer?
Richard, hello.
Hi, how are you? Long time no see. I feel like I flew all the way in from Vegas to be back home. But I know I drove, so it just feels like I flew. How are you?
Well, welcome home. It's been a very interesting day just because it's my dad's birthday. So I woke up.
Oh, that's right. Happy birthday, Jim.
And so that's one of the main reasons why I really wanted to do this podcast today, because on Thursday I'll be traveling again, this time to Montana for a wedding.
Wow, how lovely. Montana's beautiful.
I'm just happy that people are still getting married.
I got to tell you, I went to Phillipsburg, Montana with my wife, Sherry, and I. And we were shooting, a friend of mine was shooting a little short film. And Sherry came down to the set and said, your dog is really freaked out by the children that are running back and forth upstairs. And everybody stopped and looked at her and said, there is no family upstairs. She was hearing the ghosts of a family that lived upstairs before. The dog was hearing it too. So the two of them were like, oh my God, there's children up there.
Wow.
Anyway, so, our podcast is Hacking the Afterlife. And of course, Jennifer and I haven't spoken since we talked to Elvis last week.
Right.
And Luana, we're going to toss it over to you. And for those tuning in for the last time, Luana Anders, my friend who passed away in 1996, plays the role of Jennifer on the flip side. She's sort of our moderator.
Luana.
That's all she's got on her notepad. Jennifer's saving trees, by the way.
I am. And now, like last time I didn't have my little Apple Pencil.
Oh.
I had to go old school, and I can't. It drives me. It's like nails on a chalkboard when I do that. I can't stand
writing with your finger. Well, Luana, listen, I appreciate your helping moderate these sessions. It's kind of wacky. Here's a friend of mine, close friend of mine, who passed away in 1996, and I talk to her more often now than I did when she was on the planet. And she's been so helpful to us.
But we hear about this. She's been helpful to so many people that listen to this podcast. They feel very connected to it. And I do feel like we're making talking to the afterlife so much more accessible, and it always has been, but we're connecting them to what they're already connected to. We're putting their awareness to where they actually are not doubting it as much.
Instead of dismissing it outright, oh, that's a coincidence, such and such and such. And I'm hearing it often every day, in Quora, the Hacking Afterlife forum, people write and talk about.
So my clients that find me on there, that find me through you, I encourage them, good or bad or indifferent, to write a review because I feel like it helps other people too.
Yeah. And, when somebody shares their experience, of course, they're saying, I don't know, this might have been a dream. I could have made it. They go through all that. And then they go, and my mother said, I've been waiting to talk to you for 5 years. Like, why weren't you listening? And they have this weird feeling of their mother chastising them, like she used to. And then, but they're allowing that it's possible that because time is so different over there. Well, let's talk about it. Luana, do you have any guests that need to come forward, or do you want to talk about process?
So she showed me a picture of me and her, in my mind's eye. And it was about last night. And last night I read it Uncorked. I read about 17 people, my wine and spirits, which is really fun. The next one is in a couple weeks. There's still, I think, a couple of seats. If you're listening now, you can go to it.
Go to your jenniferschaefer.com website, right?
I don't even have it on there. Just go to Uncorked in Hermosa Beach. Just go to their website.
Okay. Uncorked in Hermosa Beach, California.
Yeah. Or you can go to my Instagram. You can see where you can connect to it. But there's a couple, it fills up. It's always sold out. And so I'm doing another Tuesday or something like that. Anyway, that being said, she was showing me, and last night I realized it came through over and over and over again about people that have guilt. Like there was a couple of people, a couple of spirits that came through saying, please please don't have guilt that you weren't there when I passed away. That's not your fault. It was either COVID or it was something else. But what does is it keeps them away from feeling them.
Blocks them from hearing what they're
Right.
trying to tell them. And so, well, let's talk about that, Lou. So somebody crosses over and their loved one isn't there. And so what is blocking them? Is it
Their feelings of pain, like they didn't do enough. And so they're always there. She showed me they're always there from the other side, but the people that are here don't feel them because they're afraid to feel them. And when you have fear in any way, and fear actually also simulates guilt. Hold on. It's like on the same level of energy.
It's the same as I was going to ask. So fear generated by a human being. Of course, everybody has their own fears, but you're saying, Luana, the frequency level itself is almost like a signal blocker. It blocks the signal of other stuff to come through because that becomes the predominant signal. Is that it?
Correct.
So the thing that overwhelms us, and this also when people talk about,
she keeps showing me. So she keeps showing me my heart. Give me a second. If you have fear or doubt, you can't like jump, or your awareness can't jump into the full fulfillment. Okay, then she showed me fulfillment. She showed me something else. Again, we've talked about our essence. They remember our essence. They know your true essence. If you have loved them your whole life, or they don't remember just the one day that you weren't there or the 2 days that you got in a fight, they remember how they take all that love with them. We compartmentalize, and we only remember, and my son reminded me of this morning, that we tend to remember the bad things, unfortunately, versus all the great things that happen.
Yeah, because that
moments. And so, hold on. Focus on, it's interesting. She goes, focus on the light.
Focus on the light. And so you think about all, when you're thinking about your loved one, let's say, even right now, for anybody listening in, tuning in, if you're driving, be careful, don't do this. But if you're sitting down somewhere, focus on somebody that you love or loved. And then, of course, you have the memory of them passing over, all the difficulties, that are involved with that, the trauma. And just set that aside for a second and now focus on the light, the stuff that you loved about them, the journey with them that made you happy, or the connection that you had. And that helps, correct me if I'm wrong, Lou, that helps build up sort of the frequency. It's like you're boosting the energy of the signal.
And the connection, it gets stronger and stronger. And my dad just showed up and I felt him put his hand on me. And then he reminded me, I'm sorry, I'm going to get choked up, of how when he passed, I felt so guilty that I didn't know, or I couldn't save him, or I didn't know that he had cancer, or I didn't like all those things that we've gone over before.
Yeah.
And once I got over that, now I can hear him more. Now I don't have that, it's been 5 years. I don't have that. I trust it more. I still trust him more when we're together doing this podcast for some reason. And I'm fine with that. Because
I ask you annoying questions.
True enough.
But Jim, we've talked to you about this before. We've talked about you crossing over. And what Jennifer's talking about now is something that has to do. So in your life planning session as Jim, as father of Jennifer and all the other wonderful children you had, and husband to your wife, your lovely wife, in terms of your life planning session, had you have that all worked out in advance, or just the rough sketch of it?
He said I was detailed in how I wanted my family to be larger than life. He just showed me like me on stage, for instance. Loving, kind. I wanted to know what pain was. I wanted to help through what I've learned. He says it was more, it's interesting because it's not something I would think. He says it was more detailed before.
Before he got here. And this is about process. We've talked about this. Architecture of the afterlife includes architecture of life. when you're planning your next lifetime and you have a life planning session and you gather up all of those individuals who are going to help you, your guides, your teachers, your classmates, your counselor, all of them in
My
like the
Richard.
auditorium. Yeah, exactly. But so Jim, I'm referring to that life planning session where Jennifer, before she had incarnated, her conscious energy is back home saying, I will play your crazy, wacky daughter. I can do that. You remember me from that other previous lifetime? I mean, is that what we're talking about? Is it was more detailed when you planned it, but of course it got improvised.
Yes.
Okay, very good. And within the improvisation is all the delight and the joy and the surprise. Because
he just laughed. Like he used to go like this, like I could see him just laughing. A lot more than he would have liked. The surprises he did not were not detailed.
Yeah, the improvisation. Well,
that's what. But then hold on. That's what love and life is all about: is the surprises.
And so if Jim, if you don't mind, happy birthday, by the way. Let's turn it over to Luana for a moment here. In your lifetime, which I'm very familiar with, and some of the people know your journey, LuanaAndrews.com, for some of her background. She's also a segment in the movie Hacking the Afterlife, so people can at least become familiar with her. Your journey was difficult on many levels. And so this awareness that you planned it or had a hand in planning it.
So this is why she just interjected saying, this is why you don't remember your past lives when you get here, for the element of surprise. Because if we knew it, what would we learn?
Bingo. If we knew it, what would we learn? And so in retrospect, you can give us better awareness of this than almost anybody. Which is what, in terms of your planning, do you feel the outcome was up to the planning that you had in mind in your journey, Luana? That's my question. Did you feel the outcome? Here we are chatting. Here we are demonstrating how simple it is to talk to people on the other side. Do you feel like this was all part of that journey?
It was definitely part of the journey. And she showed me just you being planted in her life and all the people that you met that are now we're talking to. So, and how you and I met because of her, right?
Absolutely. The kismet.
How the kids met, how you and Sherry, are together.
Well, I mean, I don't think I've talked about it so much with the audience.
Sherry's a saint, by the way. Your wife is a saint, truly.
Well, Luana called her an angel when she met her.
She is.
There you go. I think that's very unusual. I haven't shared it with the audience too many times, but I literally flipped a coin. I was sitting in Rome. I was trying to decide whether to stay in Rome. And the heads meant I would stay in Rome, and tails would be I'd get on a plane and go to LA. And it came up heads, stay in Rome. And I said, oh, shit, 2 out of 3. And because of that, I realized, oh, it must be my fate to go to Los Angeles. You see? Yeah. But for years, I thought, oh, well, maybe I should have flipped it. Maybe I was supposed to stay in Rome. But when Olivia, when our daughter was born and she was lying on my chest in the hospital, I dreamt about that coin flip. It said, I didn't dream about it. It appeared right in front of my eyes.
It was showing you were visiting.
I saw the string, the red string that travels. I saw how every decision I had made related to that coin flip, and that here to this moment, it all made sense. And so when we start to examine weird things in our lives, like we're just talking to Luana and we're saying, did you plan your lifetime to, she suffered through a number of things and then, crossed over, and now here she is continuing her work in so many ways. In the life planning, what did it include that string? And what she's saying is not only did it include that string, but it includes everybody listening in. Everybody listening into the podcast who are now being tapped on the shoulder by a loved one saying, hey, listen to these guys. Listen to what they're doing. This is how I want you to talk to me. Now, is that egotistical, Luana, or is that accurate, or both?
She's like, it's 99.99% accurate.
I love that. There's always a little doubt. You can't forget that 1/10 of 1% of like, oh, you're full of hot air. All right. Well, Lou, did you have any guests that you wanted us to chat with today, or is this just a process, talking about process? Besides Jim, happy birthday.
I know. So Jim, my dad just came through. He loves what we're doing, and he's just showing me. I posted something today because my dad comes through with signs all the time for all of my brothers and sisters and myself. And mine happens to be 7/1 for a very good reason. My birthday is 71. Goes on and on. And he, like, I saw it, and then he just showed me. So again, I'm not thinking these things. He just showed me the double rainbow I saw in Bonaire twice,
Wow.
and to see it so close. I've never seen it so close before to me. Like it was right in front where I saw where it ended.
By the way, if you want to please repeat the symbol that, because it got cut out of last week's podcast, there was something wrong with the signal where I was getting it in Vegas. Some of it got disrupted. But I lost the part where you talked about the symbol that you had agreed upon before he crossed over.
I love you. So before he crossed over, I'm like, what is going to be your sign? And he tapped me, and he's like, I love you. And he'd always go like this, I love you.
So whenever you see that,
it'll pop in, and my dad, and he'll tap me on the shoulder and say it, or show me the fingers, or there'll be a 3, there'll be something with that.
Yeah, that okay sign. But Jim, let me ask you, what would be something for people who, what's that process like? So somebody who is missing their loved one, parent, grandparent, children, whatever it is, can you come up with a symbol now? I mean, you sort of meditate on it, like, people always asking for a sign. He just showed me the way. Hold on. Just like something you have said, put your loved one in front of you, connect with your hearts, like feel a hug. Okay. Try to remember details, or don't remember details. See what details come in your mind. I just got my dad, and just his scent, and that smell of whatever cologne. Old Spice.
Thank you. You just said that to me. And then just know that the essence of the both of you is good. Like there's nothing bad. Okay. Don't think about what you did wrong. Don't think about all the things that could have,
or that they're not here. You just focus on the connection.
Okay. Focus on the connection. And then let me see. And it's either feeling the love or telling them that you love them. It's almost like I could hear, like I just said, I love you, Dad. And I can hear him say, I love you. I love you. Like you can hear him say it back, or you can feel him saying it back. Don't judge it. And then just say, take me for a ride, and see where they take you.
Take me for a ride. I love that.
So he just took my hand and took me to the beach, and we started walking on the sand just now.
Brilliant. Brilliant. That's a great example. Take me for a ride.
Take me for a ride.
Take me for a ride.
See where they take you. Don't think it, just see where they take you, because I wouldn't have gone, that's just where he showed me. Just took me right to the beach, and that's one of my favorite places in the world. He loved running by the beach.
Well, and I had a very strange experience after Luana passed away. A few months later, I was in New York City, and I was thinking about, like, how was she showing up in dreams to me, or people that I knew were seeing her? I was thinking she must still exist then. And I was kind of vaguely thinking, like, where are you? And it was right out of the movie Contact, which didn't come out until a few months later. And when I saw the sequence in the movie, I went, oh my gosh, I experienced that. I had this experience of an out-of-body experience, flying out of my body and into deep space. And today, for those who want to look at something really spectacular at NASA,
sent that. Yes, it's so beautiful.
So, but it was like traveling through that that vortex of light in supersonic speed, and I realized the light was melting. I was moving so fast, and then I went into like a wormhole. That's the term they use in the movie Contact. I didn't know what it was, but when I got to the other side, not exactly like what they showed in the film. Yeah, there it is. Oh, thank you. Very good. Not exactly what they showed in the film, which was this beach in Panama. It was another universe, and I was traveling, like, instead of straight, I was traveling left to right. And I suddenly stopped, and there was Luana standing in front of me, but she had her eyes closed. And I was thinking to myself, okay, this is weird. I know this is her, but her eyes are closed. And then she opened them. And in my head, I heard, you were looking for me, and this is where I am.
Wow.
Like a confirmation. I mean, literally, yanked me there. But somebody outside my apartment honked his truck horn, one of those massive, and I had this feeling of being yanked like a rubber band, but pulled back the other way. So I experienced going backwards through the wormhole backwards, pulled back to Earth.
That's called what I would call like a vortex. You got into a vortex where everything became very quiet. That's what happened to me in Sedona.
That's true, I would say. But for my experience, it was literally like a wormhole, because it was bouncing around, just like in the movie Contact. But when I got back and I could see New York City coming up at me with a great speed, like Power of 10, the movie, I was now flying into Manhattan, and I was in my bed. And I sat up wide awake, and I went, what the heck was that? But I realized she had shown me something. She had given me a sign that has led to this day, because it really piqued my interest. And it was like, okay, if you can do that, how hard can it be for me to find you? And it took me to find Jennifer to be able to have this cell phone conversation with Luana. So Lou, the question then back to you and to Jim, this idea of, first, was I accurate about that, Luana? Is that in detail? Because I don't think I've ever asked you that before. What was that about?
She showed me it was exactly like you showing up at the class. She showed me you showing up at the class. It was very similar to you seeing, like, surprising her at the class.
Yes, and what's interesting about that is when I did through a hypnotherapy session, she was surprised to see me. So it's not like she had planned this all out elaborately. Right. She was shocked to see me in this classroom talking, and really looked at me with the thought of, what the heck are you doing here?
She's just saying that it was reversed. She did it to you.
So, but my point is that it wasn't planned. And it happened, but it happened, and we were both aware of it, let's say. And now we've gotten to this point where we can dial each other up, have a conversation.
And if time isn't linear, as far as we know, she's shown me being able to go back and forth, just like you had that moment of flipping the coin when you were holding your daughter. It's the same thing. So it's the same thing as what happened there. You just went back and looked at it again. Like
you and I, when we first met, you were talking about at your wedding having a feeling that somebody was looking over your shoulder at you and Freddie. Mm-hmm. And then I said, so who was it? Show Jennifer who it was looking over her shoulder. And you went, it's us. It's us in the restaurant looking at her wedding. But she was aware of it during her wedding, which I don't know how many years ago that was, but
21 years ago.
21 years ago. So you were instantly, so that thing of, time, it's not the time, for me, it's not that time doesn't exist, because that blows people's minds. You can
see how this is the closest I've ever seen it, how it's not linear.
Not linear. Yeah.
It's not linear.
But it is, let me just allow.
Go ahead. Nope, go ahead.
The word linear is the hang up. People ask about their lifetimes, and they are linear because otherwise you wouldn't learn anything. But time is so compressed once you're off the planet and outside the universe that it becomes this thing where you can access everything that happened to you. And you do see it experientially, which experiences like, I see this, I see that. That's linear. I see my father. Oh, I see my mother. And that goes in order. You don't see them all simultaneously, but you see them sort of relative. So that's why I say it's relatively linear. relatively linear and relatively no time. But that allows us at least to understand how it is that you and I can jump back and forth between something that happened, and then the question becomes, well,
Fascinating.
can I alter it? That's the question. Then you go, well, could I go back and scream at the wedding?
That's a different kind of wormhole.
Yeah.
Because then you'd have to be aware of it. Okay. Then your awareness would have to be aware of it, what you're doing, which is not something that
our brain conceives of.
No,
but also
like a slideshow dumping in, and then I see, Nemo where turtle.
Yeah.
That race that you.
Oh yeah. And
they're showing me that being around the earth with how fast it's spinning, with to actually figure out that you're doing it at that time is nonsensical, I guess you can say, or
outside of your senses. But I would also point out, because people do ask the question a lot about jumping around in time zones, the reason you can't reincarnate in a previous era is because you'd have to get everybody to participate, because before you incarnate, you have to get guides and teachers, loved ones. Luana, am I right on this? Is this correct? Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, I love that I'm asking Lou, and she's like, yeah. But you'd have to get everybody to participate, which would be like herding cats.
At the times that are, it's just there's not a way you could do it.
Well, yeah, you just can't get everyone to agree. They'd have to agree to be your parents again. Everybody'd have to come back and be like, oh, will you stop with wanting to go back in time? Just move forward. Learn. Come on. Get up to the next thing.
Every experience, I feel, from what I'm gathering, is creating a past, present, future that helps each other out, helps yourself out. So if you think about it, whatever happens in the past is helping you in the future, and whatever you're doing in the future is helping somebody else's, can help somebody else's future. I don't know. It's just weird.
Well, here's how I like to put it, and Luana, please correct me. It's that when you do this kind of work, what we're doing, and let's just say you do a hypnotherapy session where you go back into a previous lifetime and you realize that you chose that lifetime, then it changes your emotional reaction to the trauma that might have happened in that lifetime. So by examining that you chose your lifetime, then you realize you chose this lifetime, and that then changes your present, because you realize, if I chose my lifetime, then I chose this trauma and these lessons, as difficult as they might be. That changes your present. So by changing the past, observing it, you change the present, which now will change your future, because you will no longer be attached to that kind of trauma or fear, as we first started talking about it. You're not attached to that stuff. And that is a way that we change the past, by observing it. And then it changes our present, and then it changes our future. So Luana, is there anybody else that we need to talk to, or that is on your list that wants to stop by?
You talked to him last night, she's saying. So it's another thing where you talked.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You mean somebody that I talked to last night? Okay.
Yes. Talked to you last night, and it had to do with Vegas, had to do with the person that you were in Vegas with. I don't know. Oh, Chuck, I think is here.
Oh, Chuck Roden. Very good. And what's interesting is, because of the podcast last week,
he's singing, he says. I feel him singing.
Okay, what's he singing? What's the song?
I don't know. It's something that he'd sing to his mom or his dad every night, or something like that we talked about.
Something that Charles Grodin sings?
Hold on. Somewhere Over the Rainbow, I'm feeling.
Over the Rainbow. Okay, very good. Now, the reason that's very good is also because Chuck came through on our podcast in Vegas to let us know that he was with us while we were, having fun with Dave, he was a big fan of Dave's. But because of the connection, that got dropped out of the podcast. So it's fun that he showed up to mention. So Somewhere Over the Rainbow, and he did a movie where he played an angel.
And then the Charles and the Chocolate Factory, Willy Wonka, who's the guy
Gene Wilder, his best friend.
Okay, he's just showed up as well.
Okay, did you know that Gene Wilder's his best friend? Probably not.
No idea. I had no idea.
Gene Wilder started Chuck Grodin with his career.
I love him. He just winked. He just said he's wearing his like purple hat, and he just
All
winked.
right.
Hold
Well,
on.
Gene, do you remember having our dinner together?
And Laura, the one that died of breast cancer on SNL, Laura, was that
Gilda
his?
Radner, who was his wife. Very good.
Okay, you're going somewhere with this, so hold on a second.
Okay, guys, I appreciate it. Go ahead.
We're doing a multi-dimensional play. We're tinkering with characters over here and over there. It's so interesting because they're showing me, I know this is something that they have to, so they're showing me getting like, you know how we channel information. We might not realize it at the time, but when we get inspired for a song, for instance, we're probably channeling it from the other side, right? They're saying they're doing it from their side to here. They're channeling information. So this is very interesting. I have not seen this before.
So who's the primary spokesperson here? Is it Chuck, Gene, or Gilda? Charles. Okay, very good.
Well, Gene's still, they're both talking, but yes.
And so, Gene, is there anything you want to say to your fans and people who miss you dearly and love you and your work?
Thank you for watching.
I know Mel Brooks and you had and Mel's still on the planet. Anything? His birthday was last week.
Barely.
His birthday was last week. Anything you want to say to Mel?
Keep on ticking.
Keep on ticking. And Gilda, we'd love to hear anything. Gilda,
Annie said you're stronger than you think.
Who? We all are.
Mel Brooks.
Mel, stronger than you think. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. And so, Chuck, tell us something about your journey that's going on now. This idea that you and Gene and Gilda can hang out together and have some fun. Is this something you're always doing, or just because we're doing our podcast and you stop by?
No, we're always making fun. People are coming and going. There's certain times where we do other things, and there's certain, like, we might go, what? I don't know. He's like, we might go play football, something we never do. And then that's interesting. He's like, I was a football player in a different lifetime or something like that. And I know football was only in like whatever it was, or some type of sport.
Yeah, no, it's fine. That's fine. You know, and playing football, we've asked Junior Seau about it. He said it's not the game as you know it. It's kind of creating intention, passing a ball, and then thinking about how do you catch it. You know, there's all kinds of other parameters, but it looks like football to somebody watching it. But the guys playing it, they've got a whole different set of technical aspects to the game because you have to mentally create everything, feel the ball, the velocity. And, and so Chuck, you're saying people are on the flip side are constantly playing games and constantly creating new environments.
All the time. He said that if I would have, he goes, and I try to do that, that's where acting came into play.
Very good. And
acting is a great way of getting out of your head, out of your environment, and into something else. And he goes, maybe that's why I loved it so much. Or singing brings you up, or dancing takes you somewhere.
Takes you out of it. And Gene, you were a very unique individual and a unique actor. And of course, you brought a lot of. Go ahead.
Did he like musicals before they were cool?
Did he? I don't know. He might have done. I know that he and Chuck did plays together before they had a career, that was famous.
And it was they were behind, or they worked at the theater or something like that. I don't know.
I think they actually lived together near a theater in the upper.
Okay.
But also,
I
think it was Gene that came out to LA and told Chuck, you got to come out here because, there's all these roles that you could be playing. And Chuck came out to play bad guys in cowboy shows where he learned if you talk slower than the other guy, that's how you become a scary cowboy.
That is so funny.
And Gilda, anything you want to say? Because, of course, we love watching you on the reruns and all that other stuff.
So interesting. He just showed me, just real fast. He showed me that. I'm like, are you reinventing yourself? And he says, because with everything they were showing me, and he says, no. He goes, but you reinvent yourself for your next life. So you rehearse it for so you can grasp it and grab it when you leave, when you go down there.
So you guys are planning, is that what you're talking about? You're planning your next performance?
Yeah, they said after you get up there, they're planning there, which is a long time from now, they said. But after you get up there, because we all go down as a group, it's way too much fun not to. And you said, Gilda, hold on. Well, Gilda, what are you doing? She goes, I'm taking a break. I'm not sure I'm coming back.
Any message for your old friend Bill Murray, Gilda? Paramore before Gene?
Keep filming. And she just showed me Ghostbusters again. There's like more that are going to come out or something like that. I don't know.
Could be. It's possible.
She says not to take his life so seriously. And I'm like, why would he take his life so seriously? But
he's always taking things a little seriously. I know it doesn't seem like it, but my brother knew him in high school. They were friends and pals. And Bill was so kind and let me have guest tickets to the rehearsal for a couple of years of shows. And I mean, I went to see all the Saturday Night Lives in the dress rehearsal because Bill didn't know me from Adam. It's just because he knew my brother. And I said, could I? Anyway. So I got a chance to see Gilda be hilarious. And I got a chance to meet Gene and Chuck. Of course, we love you dearly. We think about you all the time. We're always talking about you, reminding our great summers where we'd hang out at your pool in Connecticut. We miss that.
They're just saying, okay, one of the final things they're saying, they're like, just do it. Whatever's on your mind or whatever inspires you, what's the worst thing that can happen? Just do it. And if it's focused around love and love of others, it's going to work.
If it's focused on love and love of others, it's going to work.
And it's something about entertainment. Hold on. Entertain yourself first. Then it's easier to entertain others.
Entertain yourself first. All right. I know Jennifer's got to go. Thank you so much, and I'm sorry, Chuck, Gene, and Gilda, that we were blabbing away and we didn't get to spend more time with you. But you're always welcome. And of course, Luana's our conduit, and Lou, fill up that VIP list, and we'll check you on the flip side. We'll get to you next week. Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you for your gifts, and thank you for helping people to realize how easy it is to talk to your loved ones.
All right.
We love you. This has been Hacking the Afterlife podcast with Jennifer Shaffer. For more information, jennifershaffer.com, martinizone.com, or richmartini.com. Hacking the Afterlife documentary is available on Gaia.com via Amazon Prime.